Google is useful for an awful lot of things. Ask it any question about the Bible, however, and the top 50 results will usually have been penned by individuals with a broadly fundamentalist agenda. When an impartial, truly reliable book about the Bible comes out, therefore it's worth its weight in gold. Karen Armstrong's 2007, The Bible, the Biography, begins with the consideration of the earliest documents. It shows how alien the notion of a canon probably was to the earliest redactors. It shows how earlier texts were often subtly altered to reflect the views of later editors, without any thought that this might compromise their supposedly, for us, sacred nature. It gives equal weight to the Jewish and the Christian perspectives. It ends with the consideration of fundamentalism, which Armstrong sees as a product of modernity, rather than as a revival of any older, more traditional approach to the Bible. I think she's right about that. What she doesn't consider, although I think is the crucial question, is the extent to which fundamentalism, for all its flaws, is currently the only game in town. Christianity is an historical faith. If Christ is meant to be the new Adam, for example, and that identification is bound up with him dying for our sins, and there was no Adam, what does that mean? What's it mean to say that Christ came to cancel the debt of someone who simply didn't exist? Armstrong wants us to interpret the Bible in more mythological terms. She thinks that's closer to the spirit of past eras. But I wonder whether that gives us just too much room for interpretation. In an atomized world, where does your consensus come from? And without consensus, what happens to the church? The trouble is, once you've seen what modern historical criticism does to the Bible, something of which Robin Lane Fox's 2006 The Unauthorized Version gives a good demonstration, it's impossible to unsee it. Yet unseeing is what fundamentalists want. They'll use modern historical tools to prove the reliability of the Bible without ever noticing that the effective application of those tools requires a prior working assumption that the text might be unreliable, which puts them in the same boat as the rest of us. Whatever one thinks of the Bible, it's probably simply on the grounds of its antiquity, its literary merit, its passionate concern for the truth, its influence, the world's greatest book. What precisely it means is something we've yet to discover, which is a human conundrum, of course, not a specifically religious one.